Hey everyone. So today we're going to be going over a study called The Effects of Narcissism and Humor Coping on Anger Expression in Married Couples. My name's Matt Mann, and let's begin. So this study was performed by Shingo Abe and Jin Ota. And they kind of wanted to take a look at how anger expressions and how frequently they happen inside of a marriage and the way that kind of affected the happiness and satisfaction inside that marriage. More so, they kind of wanted to take a look at how narcissism and humor coping played a role in that. And when they started out, they had four hypotheses. First one was the more anger shown by one partner, the more they're likely to get anger returned back at them from the other partner. Second one was the more anger shown inside of a relationship, the less satisfaction there is. Those first two kind of seem pretty simple. We can kind of all guess those things, but they did actually find a way to put some good numbers to that and actually track that. The next two are where they get a little bit more into it, with hypothesis three being that higher levels of narcissism will also lead to higher levels of anger expressions. And hypothesis four, that humor coping will actually reduce the number of anger expressions. And to perform this study, they did a self-administered survey of 288 couples with an average age of 43 years and an average length of marriage of about 15 years. And the way they did it, they surveyed a middle school in Japan and just asked for any couples that were married that were willing to participate to let them know. And they would end up sending them 2 copies of the survey with their own return mailing labels and envelopes. And that way, each person in the couple could fill it out independently of the other one and then mail it back independently. And on these surveys, they use Maury's scale of marital satisfaction, which was on a rating from 1 to 4, 1 being like strongly disagree, 4 being strongly agree. Narcissistic personality inventory, same thing, but on a 1 to 5 scale. And then humor coping with interpersonal stress scale, same thing on a 1 to 5 scale. Through these studies, they did find that they confirmed their hypothesis number one, which says the more times you express anger, the more likely you are to get it returned back at you. And hypothesis two is also confirmed that the more anger expressions there are in a marriage, the less satisfaction there is. Hypothesis three was a little bit different. It was only partially confirmed. They did find that narcissism did correlate to more anger expressions, but only in husbands. They did show that husbands tended to have more narcissistic traits, but they did show that the wives tended to have more overall anger expressions. So they were kind of unclear on what was leading to what there. And then hypothesis four, they were not able to find any relation between humor coping and its effects on anger expressions. For the critiques on this one, their participants, they did have a strength on that they were only looking for married couples at the school. They didn't ask for anything else. They weren't limiting any other things other than you just had been married. Um, but with it just being at one school in Japan, the diversity was not very high. They didn't give us any terms for diversity. They didn't let us know any numbers on anything. And given the overall like diversity of the country, we can assume that like ethnic diversity was not that high. But we have no clue on like socioeconomic or any other kind of really diversity there. They did have some strengths in the method. The questionnaires were super easy to understand. They were scales that we all kind of know and have used before, so there wasn't a lot of room for misinterpretation there. But one of the weaknesses with that method was that it was not proctored. Nobody was watching them fill these surveys out. Nobody really knows if one person from the relationship filled out both, or if one was watching the other one fill it out, so we didn't get accurate or truthful answers. So that's kind of a big one, kind of anytime you have like a at-home self-survey. For the results, they did have a strength on, with them using like easily understood questionnaires, they also used common scales and measures that have been used before. So analyzing the results was really simple and really easy. And with their discussion, they did kind of bring up a lot of their own limits they had in the study and how that they did need to look further into narcissism, maybe measure it a little bit differently for these anger expressions, and that they did overall just need to do a completely different study really to kind of find anything out about humor coping. So overall, I would say it is a relatively strong study, kind of showing us the relationship between anger expressions and kind of what it does inside of a marriage and kind of what leads to it. I am a little bit interested to kind of see if they do a little bit further study on this to kind of figure out if they can find other reasons why wives have more anger expressions if it's not narcissism, and why men tend to have such heavy narcissism and why that makes them lead to their anger expressions. And just kind of in general, what humor coping kind of does for anger. I think that'll be really interesting to kind of see. Thank you.